we're going to be talking about employment benefits. What should you look for? And our guest speaker today is Bryant Kaba from the, now I know it by its old acronym, Career. Go ahead and use
it's the Center for Career and Professional Development.
I need to start with Center for Career. Thank you.
You got it.
LaGuardia's own. Down. Let me just introduce the team. From the library, we have Professor Liz Jardine, myself, Professor Anna O'Reilly, I can't even get my own name right, and Nelson Maldonado. From Business and Technology, Professor Jenna Arroyo and Professor Javier Serna, and from Social Sciences, Professor Neetu Kaushik. Just some kind of netiquette for today's workshop. If you could please mute yourself and turn your camera off. We'll be taking questions at the end of the presentation, but you can post your questions in the chat as you go along, and we'll keep track of those. Unless, of course, Bryant wants to change the order, and he can let us know it during his presentation. We are recording this presentation. It will be available up on the MoneyBoss website in a few days, so it's not an instant thing. So if you're following up, please ask us in a few days. If you did not register, please do so. That helps us with attendance purposes. And also if you're an ASAP, it helps you get credit for those workshops. And if you're using someone else's device to watch this presentation, if you could change your name, and that because we match the Zoom presentation against the Eventbrite, the Zoom attendance against the Eventbrite attendance, so that we can ensure complete attendance. We have planned this presentation for students only. So while we understand that staff and faculty may be attending, we just ask that you prioritize student voices. And just so you know, this content is for informational purposes and should be taken as advice. Oops. And find out about upcoming workshops and our Money Blog contest on our website that we have listed below, but we'll also put links in the chat. Our next Money Blog contest entries are due May 25th. Just by answering a question, you're put in a raffle for a free financial literacy book. So it's definitely worth entering. And I think that's it. So I'm going to hand that over to you, Bryant. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me just share my presentation here. I can go into full screen in a second. And all right, so good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank the hosts and the coordinators of the event for inviting me to talk to you today. My presentation is really about that negotiation period. How do you negotiate certain benefits? How do you such things as salary, vacation time? So we're going to go over a couple of things, and hopefully at the end of the presentation, you're going to learn how to the importance of negotiating a salary and benefits, recognize and address some of the fears and maybe that you might have about this topic, but really set a solid foundation for you to plan, research, and practice this professional tactic, professional strategy about negotiating salary and benefits. Hopefully, you're going to come away with some tips and techniques for negotiating, and then really set up some timeframes and items to consider when you are evaluating a job or a job offer. Right. And then at the end, hopefully you will also have some decision-making awareness and how would you respond to an employer when receiving an offer for a job. So let's start off by why should we negotiate? Well, it's really simple, right? You really want to negotiate because if you don't, over the span of your career, you're going to be losing a lot of money, right? And some of the stats, some of the studies show that an average in New York, an individual could lose over possibly, New York is really big, right? So we're talking about millions and millions of people, but that an average New Yorker who doesn't negotiate could lose about $400,000 over the average lifespan of their career. Already, here are just some quick stats and some quotes about why you should negotiate, right? How many people don't and how many people do. So only 37% of people always negotiate their salaries. 37%, right? While an astonishing 18% never do. Only 7% of women attempted to negotiate their first salary, while 57% of men did. Of those people who negotiated, they were able to increase their salary by over 7%. All right. So that you always, have to try to negotiate your salary. I know sometimes there are common fears, and we're going to address those fears, but you don't lose anything by negotiating. You only lose when you don't try to negotiate. So let's address some of those common fears that some people might have when addressing negotiation, right? Fear that you might be afraid that the employer's perception of you is going to be that you're a greedy individual, or that you might come off as being somewhat too aggressive. You might think that you might be losing the offer, right? Or that you're afraid of the employer's superior power over you. I'm here to tell you that if you have a job offer, you've gone through the process, the application process, you've gone through the interview process, right? And if they offer you the position, then they like you, right? In terms of what you bring to the table professionally, your skill set, your qualifications, right? So don't think that you're going to lose an offer, or that you're going to, that the employer's power is too great over you for you not to negotiate. And right, you might have a fear of emotion, right, or conflict. Right? You might not, I'm an individual who doesn't like conflict at all. So, at the beginning of my career, negotiating was something that I never did because, again, these were some of my common fears as well, right? I didn't want to lose, and I didn't want conflict to come up, and I didn't want the employer to think that I was being too aggressive or not appreciative enough of the opportunity. But these are all common fears that really I think everybody has, but we have to surpass those fears, right? So, and we have to negotiate effectively. And hopefully after today's workshop, we're going to have some tips and some strategies on how to do that, right? So really the first steps of negotiating effectively is to understand your worth. Okay, what are you worth? What are you bringing to the table? How do you do that? You have to research, right? You have to do your homework. You have to understand your qualifications and your skills and what the market is calling for in that value, right? And then you have to be ready to sell your value. Once you understand your worth, you've done your research. Now you have to be ready to sort of put that into practice, okay, by negotiating with your potential employer. So let's take a closer look at understanding your worth, right? How do you do that? How do we understand our worth? First up, you want to take an inventory of what your skills and accomplishments are, right? So you really want to sit down and pinpoint what are your experiences that you've had, both the unpaid and the paid. All right. How much education do you have in terms of your degree completions? An associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, maybe even some certifications that you've taken. All right. And then any projects and things that you've done outside of the school, right? And also inside the school. Another key point of this, so understanding your worth, is reviewing the job description. Okay, really dissecting that job description. Why are you a good fit for this position? So you want to identify several key points in that job description so that you can have to say, hey, I'm a strong match because I match A, B, and C in this job description, so that you could connect those requirements to your past experiences and hopefully produce a lot of good success stories, a ton of success stories to again, to know that you are worth this position, you are worth negotiating for that. Another good piece of understanding your worth is, why do you want the job, right? How does this job fit your interest, your pursuits, your career goals, really? And how can you bring value to that establishment, to that company, to that organization? And then, again, your personal budgeting, right? Your finances. What is the minimum amount of money that you expect to earn in this position? You always word of advice, you always, when you have a job or you're looking for a job, right? You never want to stay really in your same salary. You always want to sort of shoot for anywhere between 10 to 20, 25% above what you're making, right? So, you have to take that into consideration as well. So how do we do all this? Well, we have to do our homework, right? You have to research the company. I'm always telling students when I do my interview workshops that your research is probably the most important piece of the puzzle when interviewing, right? So you applied and then they called you for an interview. You always want to do your research, right? And what does this research involve? Well, the company, right? And the position, right? So how big, how small is this company, right? Who are you interviewing with? Are you interviewing with the HR manager? Are you interviewing with the director of the department? Are you interviewing with the CEO? All right. What products or services do they offer? Who are their competitors? Okay. How successful has this company been? And then online, right? Online, you want to go online. You want to do that Google search to find out, hey, how much does an average person in this role make? Maybe in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, that tri-state area, and even across the nation, right? So you really want to do that Google search, do that, find out those key points to help you in your negotiation, right? All of this information is going to help you combat and have points and facts when you're trying to negotiate your benefits and your salary. Here are some great resources to do that research, right? To find out what someone in that position that you're applying for that you got offered makes. So take a quick snapshot of this. These are some great online resources to help you. Again, you want to use these as guides, right? You don't want to use this as hey, I saw, for example, you don't want to tell the employer, hey, I saw this online, and this person makes, or a person in my role makes this much, so you have to pay me this much, right? Again, this is for your research, for your knowledge, so that you can state facts when negotiating your salary. So think, sites like PayScale, Salary.com, Glassdoor, ONET online, a very good one. That's a national one. We have Career Coach here as part of our Center for Career and Professional Development resource and tools that you can go on as well. So take a quick snapshot of that so that you can, know where to look, right, when you're doing your research. Next up, we talked about really selling your value, right? How can we become ready to sell how much we're worth, right? So really want to start off with providing solid reasons to why you're worth so much. How do you do that? Well, through your research, you come back and you say, hey, I saw that this, an individual in my line with my set of experiences, with my set of skills is worth this much. All right. But you really want to make sure that when you're communicating this message, it comes off in a very professional manner and it is consistent throughout the entire process, right? From the minute that you submit your resume or you email them to find out about jobs, right? Or you write in your cover letter, you want to keep that message consistent that you are a professional of the utmost person, right? A professional person, and that, that you are worth what you say you're worth, right? So, and in all these key pieces here, you want to highlight the fact that you've been successful in your educational endeavors and in your professional experiences. And timing is everything, right? I get this question asked a lot during my interview workshop. Should I bring up salary? Right? So when do I bring up salary? When do I bring up negotiating my benefits? Okay. You don't want to bring this up in the beginning, right? Timing is everything. All right. Avoid premature negotiation disclosure of your desired salary. You may be screened out right away. They may say, oh no, well, this person is worth too much for me. I can't pay you that. You lose some of that power that you might have when after they offer you the position. Because remember, I mentioned that once you are offered a position, they like you, right? They want you to come on board. They've probably interviewed multiple candidates and they chose you. So that's your leverage that they want you, right? So you don't want to lose that by negotiating too early, right? So try to gauge what they're planning to pay you in terms. Again, that's research, right? And guess what? They offer you the position, so they're willing to negotiate. And every hiring manager, director of the department, HR, they're expecting for everybody to negotiate. And if you don't, you're just making it easy for them, right? But you always want to wait until you have that leverage of an offer, right? Timing is everything. On top of that is, this is New York City law, right? So before, many moons ago, it was legal for companies to ask you during an application process or during an interview, right? What was your past salary history? So how much did you make in your previous position? Now, since 2017, that's become illegal. All right, so don't fall for that trap when when you're negotiating for an employer to ask you how much did you make before, so that they can use that to sort of gauge how much they should pay you. Right, that is illegal. They should not be able to ask you that. And you can tell them, no, well, that's, I find if somebody ever asks you that, according to the law, New York City law, that became illegal in 2017, and you don't have the right to ask me that anymore. I'm sorry, 1 second here. I just can't see. Okay, so phases of the negotiation, the job application, right? You have to understand when you're in the job search process, right? You have to set your goals as to what your salary expectations are, right? So usually in a job application, there's going to be a phrase or a question, or even sometimes the employer demands for you to tell them what your salary expectations are. And that's just a question of what you think how much do you want to get paid on an application or in an email that you submit your resume, your cover letter in. If they demand that of you, you can say a couple of phrases like, I'm open, right? I would like it to be a competitive salary. And it's negotiable, right? So that we can sit down and talk about, how much I think you should pay me. So these are key phrases that you want to use throughout the negotiation process when you start that after the offer, or I'm sorry, in the job application. Switch here. So during the interview, I'm sorry, I just need to move this here. All right. So during the interview, you really want to express sincere interest in the position. And really this goes throughout the entire process, from the application phase that you submit your resume, right, to you sitting down with the interviewer, with the employer, till even after they offer you the position. You always want to express that you're extremely interested in the position and that you're grateful for them offering you the position. All right, but acknowledge the importance, but try to delay the discussion of salary. Understand your employer's needs and communicate your value that warrants a higher salary, right? Again, utilizing that research that you've done on the salary for somebody in that role, all right? And you always, this is a very key point here for everybody listening. You want to provide a range, right? When they ask you, hey, what's your desired salary? You never want to say a specific number, right? You always want to give a range. So you can say, based on my experiences and based on my qualifications, I think a person in my role should get paid in the low 70s or in the high 70s, right? Or in the low 50s or in the high 50s or the mid 50s, right? You always want to give a range. You never want to put yourself in a specific figure, because you might price yourself out of that position, or the employer, had in mind to pay that position quite a bit more, right? So you always want to give a range, so that way you can give them an opportunity to sort of maybe meet you in the middle. So how would you say that, right? So here's a couple of question answers that we've come up with so that you can get an understanding of how would you communicate that. So if an employer asks you what's your salary expectation, you as an applicant can say something like, well, I'm very interested in the position and I look forward to discussing compensation once you are confident that I'm the right candidate for this job. I understand that this role will require a background in XYZ. May I tell you more about the results my team was able to obtain on XYZ project? I think that you might find interesting. Right, so here, this is a piece where you're, again, explaining the importance of the role, that you're interested in the position, and some of your background of how you've been successful in your abilities and your skills and your qualifications in your previous employment. And again, if you want to take a quick snapshot of this, please, by all means, please do. It's just great advice here.
Excuse me, Brian, it's Anne
Yes.
O'Reilly. Do you think you could provide us with the your presentation?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I definitely can. Mhm.
So we can post that on our MoneyBoss website as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can send it over to you right after the presentation.
Great, thank you.
You got it. You got it. Here are some other examples, right? Of during the interview, they ask you what your salary expectation is. You can say, I prefer to discuss salary when we both feel the job is right for me. And again, this is before they've made an offer, right? So I want to be clear about that. That these are some of the phrases or some of the things you can say before they've made an offer, right? Because again, you don't want to price yourself out or come in a little bit low with a monetary number. Right. Something else you can say is, I'm sure we'll be able to come to an arrangement that is mutually agreeable. Let's first determine if I'm the right candidate for the position. All right. So go ahead and take a screenshot of this here. And again, I'm going to share it with everybody so they can put it on the website. But if you can. Awesome. So now we're at the point where you've applied, you've been through the interview process, and congratulations, you've been offered the job. What do you do, right? How do we start that negotiation period? Well, express your enthusiasm, right? You're excited about this position. You're excited about the opportunity to do this role, to join that team, okay? But you don't want to accept right away, all right? You want to ask for time to think it over, and then ask for the details of the position, the ins and the outs, and always ask for that offer letter in writing. Right, so you can say, hey, can you email me over the offer letter, right? So that you can have that as your record. You want to keep that with you so that I've been through. I can tell you some stories where some people were verbally offered a position, left their role that they were in, left their job that they were in, and then reached out to the company who offered them the new position, and for it to no longer be available, and they never got it in writing, right? So you don't want to be that individual. So you always want to ask for an offer in writing. And then you really want to determine your bottom line, right? So what's the lowest amount of money that benefits that you're willing to be paid? Okay, because you want to have that number in mind so that if it comes in below that, then you have to make a decision, right? Hey, do I want to take this or do I want to continue looking, right? And then most importantly, accept, decline, and or start negotiating. So phases of negotiation after receiving an offer, right? So you want to always remind the employer of the value that you want to add to that company so that you can warrant, so that asking for more money or asking for higher benefits. Be prepared to somewhere meet in the middle, right? That's why you want to give a range. You want to give the employer that opportunity to meet you in the middle. If not 100% match for the job, don't expect to be offered top pay. Okay, and salary isn't the only thing that you can negotiate. Which these are some of the things here that you can negotiate when you're offered a job, right? So your insurance and health, dental, vision, disability, life insurance. Some companies offer signing bonuses, stock options, profit sharing. Do they contribute to your 401k? Is it a pension? Right? Some companies offer relocation expenses. So they might not be willing to pay the top salary that you had in mind, but they're willing to relocate you and pay your moving expenses, your packing, right? How many days off, your vacation, your sick time, your personal time, right? You could always negotiate that as well as childcare. All right. Request in some cases, and I've seen this before, in some cases, you can actually ask the employer, hey, after my my 90-day or 6-month review, if I do a really great job, can we continue the conversation, or could we pick it up again about my salary or my benefits, to negotiate that, right? I've seen that before. You can negotiate tuition reimbursement. I've seen companies offer that and negotiate that as well. Recreation, CUNY, offers sometimes the gyms at lower price. I know I have the T-Mobile wireless plan, and CUNY offers some discounts through that as well. So there are a lot of companies out there that you can negotiate everything that there is to have as an employee, right? So these are just some of the things that you can negotiate through that offer, or they're accepting the offer phase. So how would you say it, right? How would you say it after receiving an offer? So here we have a way for you to say that, right? So thank you. I'm very excited and cannot wait to start. Based on the interview and research I have continued to do, I'm even more enthusiastic to join your team. May I have 24 hours to consider the offer? Right. Again, always expressing how excited you are, how enthusiastic you are about this opportunity that you've earned, right? Because there's nothing is given, you've earned it. You applied for it, you went through the interview process, and you earned this opportunity. But you always want to make sure that you're expressing to the employer how excited you are. All right. So these are just a couple of examples on how to do that. Here's another one, right? When the employer might not necessarily meet or match what you've been, what you asked for, right? So the employer might say, would you be willing to accept this salary or these benefits? You can say something like, I'm very interested in this position. I look forward to starting this role. My only reservation is the compensation. Could we discuss this? Or the research that I've done indicates that the current salary and benefits for this position is higher than your offer. I really like to work for your company, but I can't justify working for less than market value. And reevaluating the importance of these positions to the company's bottom line, I think you'll agree that an investment of market price for this position will help you secure the right individual for this opportunity, right? So here you're mentioning, hey, can we talk about this? I've done my research. I've seen what's out there, and there's a discrepancy in what's out there and what you're offering. So there's always room for negotiations, right? It's just how you say it, how you approach it, and how you want to discuss it. And then here are some things to think about when you're making your decision, right? When you're deciding, all right, so is this job right for me? Do I take this job? Do I turn it down? All right, Ken. So here are a couple of just points to sort of help you with that decision process. Can you work from home using company supplied computer and high-speed internet access, right? Are the work hours flexible? Okay, how quickly can your compensation be reviewed? We talked about that's 90-day or 6-month review. How quickly can that come up again? How often will you be compensated? Right? How often will you be reviewed? Are you stepping into a new role or title that will help you advance in your career? Right, so they might not meet your salary and benefits requirements, but can this role that you just been offered help be a stepping stone for you for your next role that you've had in mind? Right, so all of these things are just a couple of tips that you might want to, ideas that you might want to cross off, yes, no, or maybe to help you in making your decision. Again, this is going to be in the slides here, but it's just, sort of a worksheet to help you with that, to keep everything in order, right, as you go through the job search process. And let's talk about what we've talked about already, right? Sort of a summary, right? So most importantly, do your research ahead of time, all right? Be prepared to talk about the market value. Always be polite. Always communicate your excitement and interest in the position. Have a good professional attitude, always positive, right? Aim high, right? So that you can, be willing to work to sort of maybe meet in the middle. And in any negotiations, you want to make both, whoever you're negotiating with, you always want to make them feel like they want to, right? So it's always, you make sure that the employer feels like they want, all right? Suggest solutions with regards to benefits, both bonuses and raises to meet in the middle ground. reiterate and reiterate and reiterate that you meet the education, the qualifications, the experience, right? So that you can continue to express to the employer that you bring value to this position, that you bring value to the team, and that you bring value to the company, right? And most importantly, muster up and maintain that confidence, all right? You are worth it. You deserve this. You always want to negotiate. Always want to negotiate. Some negotiation don't start the negotiation without having a job offer, right? And don't ask about salary or benefits without having that job offer. Accepting the first offer, right, that comes your way when you're in the job search process, just to say, oh, I got a job, right? Don't be aggressive, arrogant, or do most of the talking. Don't stand firm on an amount without considering creative solutions, right? And don't walk away from the table when you think, oh, this is the lowest offer here, so I'm just forget it. I'm done. I'm walking away from you. Definitely don't lie, all right, or misrepresent your salary history or your experiences. Don't apologize for having lack of experience, right? That's you're negotiating against yourself there if you do that. And always want to make sure you follow up within a good time frame, right? Don't take weeks to answer an employer. Don't take, via email or phone or in person, right? Don't take forever to get back to them. Oh, this is for another thing here. And these are just some of the organizations, Equal Pay for Women. I just wanted to share this with everybody so that they can also use the resources that we've used here at the center to create this presentation. So this brings me to the end of our presentation. I'll just leave this here so that you can, always remember the don'ts of negotiation. And I'll, Professor Ann, is it okay if I take some questions now, or?
Absolutely.
All right.
Great. We actually have until 4:25. So
all right, great.
We have
Perfect.
Plenty of time for people to ask questions. And I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I'm looking on the chat right now. No, didn't see anything there. But definitely, I know if you have some questions, please.
Yeah, who has questions? We usually need one person to get us started.
Well, maybe I can ask. Somebody has a question. No, I haven't seen it yet. So maybe if anybody wants to share, have you ever negotiated a salary or attempted to do so?
I would like to share, one of my experience.
Definitely.
So people focus a lot on the salary itself, but not necessarily too much on the other benefits, such as retirement and health insurance, and all those different things that comes up with the employment opportunity. So can you please tell us, how to analyze those factors, because when I was in the job market, like I was, like I was like a fresher at that time, so I wasn't too sure about those things. And later on, I realized that I could have done a better job, going through all the other benefits. So can you provide us some suggestions on that?
Yeah, definitely. So whenever you're job searching, you always want to make sure that you research that company in full. And every company, every organization has an HR page or an HR site, right, that you can easily take a look at and find out, aside from salary, what are the employment benefits, what are the employment opportunities that they have, and how they go about to give those benefits to the employer. So maybe that employer has a 401k that you can find out, right? What are the insurance? What do they offer? Dental, vision, and health all together, or so really that research is key when you apply to that job, right? Don't just find jobs on the internet and then send your resume without doing any research, Okay, because that's yeah, you're applying, you're in the job search process, but that's not really beneficial to you as a job searcher looking for employment, because you're not going to know, you're not going to know how to negotiate, you're not going to know what to expect, and so you want to do that beforehand.
Yeah, thank you very much. So please, my suggestion, as Brian Kaba has explained, it is very important to look into those factors about the health insurance, dental, and the vision, and about the retirement benefits, how much the employer is contributing, and what will be your portion, those kind of things. And if you were to move from one job to another job, how that will be transferred, those kind of situation. Uh, and some other factors that came into my mind in I teach economics. So in economics, we have a concept called as efficiency wages. So efficiency wages are wages in which companies pays more than the equilibrium wage. And some of the benefits of those wages are, keeping the labor, keeping the employees as long as possible in those companies, providing them a great environment so they don't have to worry about looking for a second job, so that they get better pay. So there are a lot of benefits, of such wages, but at the same time, those positions are limited, right? Uh, there could also be situation where, there are, job offers. So for example, in one job offer, it is like a contractual, and maybe the salary is very high, but on the other hand, there is another job which salary might not be that high, but it is more stable, can provide you a great work life balance, those kind of things. So I know salary is very important factor, but I think those factors also are important when it comes to long term situations.
Definitely. So I see we have a couple of questions on the chat. Professor Wright, which one would you like me to?
Yeah, I think Anna was first. And sorry for the dog barking, that's mine.
No worry. Okay, so
how would you
Anna,
negotiate? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Professor.
Yeah, Anna asks, how would you negotiate for benefits that were not mentioned in the interview, but that the company may be willing to offer after accepting the job offer?
Excellent question. So I'm going to take this as you already accepted that job offer, and then you came across some benefits that you necessarily didn't know about, or you didn't negotiate with during the job acceptance. I think that's a conversation that you might want to have with a supervisor or a director of your department, and in that case, to really sit down and figure out, okay, if when does your review period, right, your evaluation period come up? And what are some of the things that if you get an excellent or above satisfactory rating on your evaluation, or your review period, what are some of the things that could be added to your compensation package? Right? It doesn't always have to be money, but what are some of the things that you found out that you could try to negotiate after the job by doing a great job doing the roles that you were, your responsibilities, so that you could then negotiate that after your review period, right, or during your evaluation period.
Great.
I see another one here.
Yeah, Zach asks, in regards to when you get a job offer and the salary is listed, and the salary is listed on the job description on the interview, can you ask for a certain range of salary given or not depending on the job, but more specifically a part-time job, even though I'm working right now part-time, but it's good to know if I want more. And Zach, you may just need to unmute if I butchered that too much. I did.
Yeah, so let me see if I understand the question here. So
and Zach, feel free to
yeah, if you want to unmute yourself, Zach, and maybe explain a little bit further the question.
No, I was just saying, if I would just because I'm working part-time right now, but let's say for future opportunities, if I'm on the interview and the job offer comes to be, I asked for a specific salary for it, but mostly for part-time jobs, nothing for full-time. That's what I hope that's clear.
So you're asking if you're I'm not sure I get the question there. You're asking, you're working right now,
Like,
but
can
you're
you range the salary, or does like guy ask for a range in salary or not?
no, you always want to ask for a range, right? You definitely never want to give a specific number, because you don't know if that employer wants to pay you more, right? Or, you if you give a specific number, that it might be too high, right? And you might price yourself out of that role. So you always want to give a range.
I
Because
think,
because
yeah.
my salary is around like 17, so that's why, like, for right now, for when I'm working, but like, let's say for like future opportunities, 20, 40, something like that,
Well, yeah, you definitely always want, well, 20 to 40 is a huge range, right? I wouldn't say you would want to give a range
or like
like
a
that.
$10 range, something.
Yeah,
like
I mean, I would say if you're making 17 right now, right, and you have the experience and you have the skill set that they're looking for, a higher range might be anywhere, maybe mid 20s, right, high 20s. That and that, again, I don't know what specific job it is, right? But again, it really, one, you want to do that research and find out how much of an individual in that position makes on the average, so that can inform your decision of what range do you give that person, that the hiring manager.
I understand that. Got you. Thanks.
You got it.
Hi, Brian. You mentioned, that since 2017, it is not legal to ask the salary history. Do you know something about if, the advertisement should mention about the salary?
So there's no law that says that employers have to list their salary yet. I think they're working towards that, right? Because if you go on LinkedIn right now, or you go on any job search site, you'll see that a lot of companies are listing their salary on the job description. So that's a new trend that's coming up now. But it's not law yet, right? It's not a requirement. It's not mandated yet. But I do see, moving forward, that could be a possibility where employers are mandated to put down their salary, but not yet.
Okay.
But it is a trend. It is a new trend that is taking place now.
Yeah, I was also actually following some. That's the reason I asked that question. It is difficult to tell exact salary, but at least, if they could tell like a range or something, like you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great.
And we have a question from, I might butcher the name, Regime. They ask, I would like to know when is best to ask for a raise or promotion after how long you've worked for a company. So I guess if you're working at a company, when's the best time to ask for a raise or promotion? How long after?
Very good question. Yeah.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said very good question.
No, great question.
Yeah.
Great question, right? I mentioned earlier that you can always negotiate that first evaluation period into the conversation. So maybe even after 90 days or after 6 months review period. But really, after working at the company, you should get a good sense of, one, when does that company give raises? Right? Is it at the year? Is it in December? Is it in the fiscal year? Right? Is it after your reviews? So you want to get a sense of when they do that. And then, when you ask for a raise or you ask for a promotion, right? It's a sort of like a formal meeting. You don't want to do that in passing. And in that formal meeting, when you request that formal meeting, you want to have evidence, right? And what's the evidence? Well, the work that you've produced. Right. So you always want to make sure that you keep sort of a notebook on the side or a document on your computer, right, to really list all the things that you've done, all the successful things that you've accomplished and coordinated or organized, whatever it is that you do, because that'll help you with that negotiation period, right? With that asking for a raise or asking for a promotion. Because I can tell you a lot from being in the work field for a lot, right? The hardest thing, and maybe some of my colleagues could probably join in here too and say this and agree with me. The hardest thing to do is answer the question, so what have you worked on this year, right? It's a long year, right? And sometimes you tend to forget what are some of the projects and the things that you've done and the workshops and how many students have you seen, right? So you always want to have that information handy and in the file or in the notebook, so that when you want to ask for that raise or that promotion, you have that information readily available. Hopefully that answers.
Did that answer your question, Marjan? I'm pronouncing your name correctly. They might not want to come off.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. All right.
Okay, great. And Anna says, can you provide us with some tips on negotiating for a promotion raise?
Right. So similar to what I just said, you want to make sure you one, request a formal meeting, right? Because you don't want to do this in passing, right? Or in the hallway, or somebody passes your office or your desk. Request a formal meeting. And in that meeting, you want to present facts, evidence, right, as to why you are asking for a raise and a promotion, with the facts and evidence that you've, have been successful in your job. Right. So maybe you are selling something and you've sold more than everybody else, and you've increased the sales by 50%. Right. I can tell you always want to include numbers in your evidence. Right. Numbers speak louder than words. Right. You can't just say, hey, yeah, I deserve a promotion because I've been here a long time. That, that's not necessarily giving them a lot of evidence to work with, right? You want to make sure, yes, I've been here a long time, I've been a loyal employee, and I've also increased, right, or surpassed or met the goals of this sales market by 50, 60%, whatever it is. But you always want to make sure you add numbers to whenever you're providing evidence in a meeting where you're asking for a raise or a promotion.
Okay, I think we're kind of caught up on the chat. Does anyone else want to take themselves off mute to ask a question?
I don't know if Professor Riley, did you take the question posted by Professor Jardine? There was one question.
No, I was trying to get to the students.
Okay, I see.
Students first.
I saw a student maybe unmute themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I have a question. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm not sure how to ask this, but I'm graduating this semester with an associate degree. I know, of course, if I continue my education, there are more chances to get a higher salary. But is there a website or a reference that I can use so that when I interview by an employer, I can be like, this is my range of salary I'm supposed to get with an associate? Because from what I heard from my friends, some employers, they don't take an associate seriously, if I'm saying this correctly, or it's not enough to apply for a position.
I got you. I mentioned some of them during the presentation, so I'm just going to share that screen again so that you can see some of the resources that you can use to really do that research, right? So pay scale, salary.com, Glassdoor is a really good one. ONET online is a large national database that's going to give you ranges and medians on average on salaries, so that you can look up that information there.
But Brian, I think what Diana asked is a good question, because I think she's referring specifically to like an associate's degree versus a 4-year degree. Does that, right, Diana? Is that kind of?
Yes.
So I'm wondering if there's some kind of something she can research for that specific degree, or is it based on the job position?
It's usually in all the resources that I've come across, it's more based on the job itself, the job title, or the job responsibilities. I've seen that as well, right? There's there might be some filters on a couple of these resources that you can maybe click off bachelor's or click on associates, but in reality, it's based more off of the job title that the researchers give off the information in these resources.
So as long as you're qualified, you can.
Right. I mean, because
they're picking you to interview.
Right.
Choosing to interview you, then the associates versus 4-year may not be as
right. I mean, if you meet what the job description is asking of you, right, and you present that in your resume with all the skills and qualifications that relate to the job, and they call you in for an interview, then that means that they've seen you on paper, right? They like what they saw on paper, and then they want to bring you in to see if you're a fit for their team. And then there, if if they offer you the position, then that right there solidifies that they are extremely interested in you as a professional, and that they have that they trust you, that you're going to complete those responsibilities in a successful manner. Right. So that's why I mentioned that that's your sort of bargaining chip, right? That's your leverage in that conversation. Because if you have the response, if you have the experiences, if you have the skills, the qualifications, then you have it all to really negotiate, right? Once all you need is that offer, so that you can have that leverage to then begin that negotiation.
Right. So, like, in other words, experience is also as part of, speaks more than associate. If we go by, I don't know, society standards per se.
I mean, that's a much deeper conversation.
No, it's just yeah.
But I think Brian's point is that if they've already chosen to interview you,
Right.
Yeah.
they're looking more at your qualifications
Mhm.
overall. So
Right.
associates is part of that, but they're looking at you and comparing you to the 4 years.
There's more
Yes.
than okay.
Yeah. Definitely, right? Because I mean, if they picked you to interview, then you've checked off that box that says you qualify for this job, right? Because that's what when you submit your resume, that's what they do, right? They look at your resume, really more like skim your resume, but they're really just checking off the boxes to make sure that you're qualified for the position.
Okay. Yeah, I always wanted to ask that, and I'm glad that I asked. Thank you so much.
You got it.
Good.
Great question. Great question.
We're glad you asked too. Who else has questions for Brian while we have him at our disposal, at our mercy?
Many good questions. Thank you all.
Very good questions. Very good questions.
Anything else? I'll point out too that we have a lot of resources on the library's website where you can look up about companies. I'm sure also, Brian, on your the CCPD website, do you want to put the link there for students
definitely
to utilize?
We have a really good resource. It's called Career Coach. So LaGuardia.edu/career services. And the Career Coach icon is right here, actually on the slide that I'm sharing. And you can find it at the bottom of our page under our online tools. And that's a really good resource because it's going to give you information on specific career paths, information such as salary, information such as the day-to-day of that particular position, what's the minimum level of qualification, what are the skills that the employer is looking for, and it's all tied in back to the majors and programs that we offer back here at LaGuardia. Another great piece of information that Career Coach provides is that it actually tells you who's doing the hiring in our area. Right, so that New York, New Jersey, a little bit of Pennsylvania, a little bit of Connecticut area there, who's doing the hiring, and then it actually links you back to a third-party sort of job search website that you can read about the job descriptions that are being posted, throughout today, tomorrow, that were posted, more recently.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. This was really a very great conversation, very helpful information.
Definitely. Thank you for inviting us. We really appreciate it. We're always, up to the opportunity excited about the opportunity to speak to students and convey this information. It's an important piece, right, of the puzzle. A lot of students, focus on their grades and their 4.0 GPA. That's extremely important as well. But don't forget about that professional development piece that goes along. That's going to help you exercise that degree and those skills that you've learned while in the classroom.
Great.
Thank you, Brian, for doing this presentation. I know this would be very important for students, and the questions that came up really showed how important it was for them. And I'm sure they gain a lot of important information and all the useful resources. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.